I did want to give a shout out to Debbie, um, not because of her activism, her enthusiasm, and so on, but because she is at the age, and I'm 20 years older than she is, uh, I think, that you start to reflect on deeper mechanisms within our society and within other societies as well. So it's more it's a deeper problem that we're talking about, and as long as we keep denying what is really happening, uh, we are completely lost at this point. And in this, I completely agree with Debbie. Where I don't agree is this whole focus on election manipulation. This has always gone on, and it's nothing new. And it's a much bigger problem in terms of elites becoming too let's say too involved with their own groups, their own meetings, their own um, the people that they meet, that they hang around with, and so on, versus the majority of the human population. And this essentially has always been a problem throughout humanity. This is absolutely nothing new. And what the difficulty now is in this particular era of history, uh, and not just for Americans, by the way, but for everyone around the globe, there will never be any kind of, you know, consensus that you rally around, um, because we're subjective human beings. We're subject to our own experiences, whether this may happen in in the physical world or in the media world. What we're exposed to influences our thinking, in other words. The problem in the United States is that most American citizens are completely ignorant in terms of what has been happening for the last 50 years or even way further back in terms of our foreign policy towards other nations and people. It is not discussed for the most part in the mainstream media, and it is, or at least was, picked up through the alternative media throughout the ages. So there were dissident publications. They've always been there. They've always been marginalized, and then co-opted, so to speak. So this reliance on major media companies, which are increasingly uh, basically taking over the traditional mainstream media, let's say, CNN, Fox News, their television stations in the United States, um, and also the blogs, the alternative media. It is all um, either sort of a straight line where things are agreed upon, but outside of that spectrum, nothing can be discussed. This is nothing new. But now alternative media, of course, are also being engulfed by the major tech companies in the United States. And that is really a big danger to any kind of alternative uh, from the grounds up movement. All of this is being taken over. We're dealing with Google, which is owned by Alphabet, which is contracting with the security agencies. Same thing goes for uh, not just Google, but Facebook, and it goes for Amazon. These are huge global conglomerates. And most people, I bet you have never heard of BlackRock. This is a huge global conglomerate which owns stock in every company in the world. People don't talk about this. These are unseen. These are the unseen elites. Nobody knows their names. These are people way beyond Zuckerberg, Eric Schmidt, the whole Davos crowd. But what they do have in common is a vision of the world, which they want to dictate, which they believe is the right path for humanity. And that involves an idiom or a sort of philosophy which is based on unending growth. Growth of material goods and consumption. And this is simply not going to happen on this planet. The natural world has limits. You can have the greatest, biggest tech sector that you can ever imagine, and you still need certain resources for that tech sector to function. You need rare earth materials. Now, by the way, being extracted from Argentina and Brazil. But there's always a natural resource that is absolutely necessary to go on with all of this. This is, beyond peak oil and all this. So we're at a crossroads in history here, human history, our species, where, we're either going to die out, or we're just going to create some sort of fictional online electronic surrogate, and that surrogate can't function unless you have continuous resources to make it function. Even if you want to transport yourself to another planet, you still need this resource to keep it going. So, if you've ever had an old, let's say a VCR video that you've recorded, well, if you didn't transfer your data fast enough, now it's all gone. You can't watch it anymore. You can't view it anymore. So maybe a few of these elites will transport themselves to Mars or to some other planet in order to, I don't know, in order to transport their hubristic visions into the larger universe, which we don't even understand. So this is, yeah, I'm afraid this is going to be the fate of humanity, is this continued hubris and not realizing that we don't even understand half of what we're doing. And this ambition, this unbridled ambition that seems to be inbuilt into our species, is most likely going to be our downfall. And not just our downfall, but it'll probably be engulf other species, many other species, and until it gets back to a much simpler world populated by single cell organisms or something. I don't know, but I think Debbie is onto something. I think these political fights in the United States are a symptom of something much larger, not easily contained. And the sooner we admit to this and quit fighting with each other, I don't know what the solution is, and Debbie doesn't either. There are a lot of us who are saying this is not the right way to go. But as usual, the Cassandras aren't listened to. They never have been. So I'd like you to just not always listen to what you've been listening to before, that you all of us have a bias, and propaganda these days is so extremely sophisticated, especially in the Western world. uh, it's almost amusing to see people fall for the same stuff over and over again, generation after generation. Okay, good night.